Hi folks, Pastor CJ here, and first I just want to thank you very much for wanting to be a part of our transportation ministry. This ministry is a big deal to our church. There's a lot of people who really depend on it, and if it wasn't for this ministry, there'd be people who would not get saved or not grow into spiritually mature disciples. So this ministry is a big deal. When I talk about our transportation ministry, I'm describing the ministry, the service of us picking people up and dropping people off before or after our church events. However, it's important to remember that this is about a whole lot more than just driving around, picking people up and dropping them off. This is about making friends. You are going to be the first impression that a lot of people have about our church family. And so I really want to encourage you, be patient with your time, be generous with your time, and make sure to be friendly with everybody. Because we're hoping that you're going to be making friends out there and connecting with people relationally. You know, sometimes it's those rides back and forth, and during that time that some of the most deep spiritual conversations really happen, or some of the most blessed opportunities for care take place. And so, just as a driver, you may be a primary care provider in somebody's life. You might be the boots on the ground there whenever something happens. They need to call somebody. You might be the first person they think about. I mean, this is really going to open up some doors. So I really want to encourage you to see this as more than just driving people around, but as a foot in the door to some real relationships. To that end, I want to go over our transportation ministry policy with you. You can find a copy of this on this same webpage or in the comments section of this video so that you could read along with me. But I just wanted to quickly go over this policy with you as a training opportunity so you can experience the best results. These are the things that we're expecting of our transportation ministry servants. Number one, if we're going to give you access to the church-owned vehicle, you got to understand that this is to be used for transporting passengers to and from church events. We're unable to afford to let drivers use the vehicle for personal reasons. So please, only use the van, if that's what we're giving you, to transport passengers back and forth from church events. Number two, and this is a big one, drivers are responsible for ensuring that all passengers are dropped off on time. And so your priority is really going to be to make sure that people get dropped off on time. We think about this ministry service as more like a bus and not an Uber, right? Your Uber or taxi will wait, and they'll do it at your expense, but they'll wait for you. Whereas the bus, I mean, if you miss the bus, you miss the bus. The bus isn't waiting for you, it's going. The bus is going to run on time. And so this van, think about it more like the bus. Your passengers need to be ready and get on time because you can't be late. It's very disruptive if the van arrives late. So please do make sure that you're on time for all events, with or without the passengers who desire a ride. The van is always going to be first in and last out, or at least generally speaking. And what I mean is that we should expect the van and its passengers to be among the first to arrive for an event and among the last to leave after an event. Getting there a little early is important, so you're not getting there, right on time, but you're getting there a little bit early so that the passengers have time to mingle and socialize and chat and use the bathroom and get some coffee and just settle in before the event starts. Let's take, for example, our Sunday morning groups and gathering. Groups right now start at 9:30. So if the van arrives right at 9:30, people are walking right in and they're sitting down and they have not had the opportunity to socialize, to mingle, to make friends, to connect relationally with others in their church family. But if you get there at 9:15, then they do have those opportunities, and we believe that's really important. Furthermore, if we're having additional events, then the van is going to want to be participating in those events. For example, one Sunday a month, right now, we do an outreach after the gathering. And so the van will take passengers home after that outreach event. The van passengers need to be aware that they need to be prepared to get to the church event early and to come home after everything is done. So the van's not going to take passengers home and then come back to the rest of the event. everybody's going to leave at the same time and arrive at the same time. So, for example, on those outreach event days, passengers should be aware that they're going to have to plan to stick around a little later, or they're going to need to find their own alternative means to get home if they're unable to participate in the outreach event. But the van is going to stick around for those outreaches and take everybody home afterwards. We think that's only fair because we're going pretty far out of our way to pick people up and we're spending gas, and so we'd love to have their help on the outreach unless it's impossible for them, and then in which case they might not come or find another ride. Also, we realize that most people want to be a part of that stuff, and so a van driver who isn't going to make time for that, for those people to participate in those events, wouldn't make sense for this ministry. So therefore, again, it's important that the driver communicate to the passengers if there is going to be a special event, such as an outreach after the gathering. In your bulletin every week, there's a list of the events coming up. So a driver might, for example, take that bulletin home so that whenever a passenger calls to try to get on your route, you can say, hey, well, you know, tomorrow's outreach day, and you can help them to plan accordingly for what that means for their available ride home. So keep in mind about upcoming events, what your driving schedule will look like, and communicate that to your passengers, assuming they might not be aware. Thirdly, if the driver becomes suddenly unavailable to provide transportation, say for example you get sick and can't drive, or maybe the van breaks down, it does happen, then it's the responsibility of the driver to either enlist a substitute, like if you can't drive, or to let all the passengers know about the now suddenly unavailable transportation. You're also going to want to make sure that you do it with enough time that the passengers can make adjustments to their plans or find another ride. So for example, if you're scheduled to pick them up at 9, you're not letting them know at 9 or 9:05 that now you can't make it. You don't want them kind of standing at the door wondering if you're coming. You want them to have lots of notice. So as soon as you know, give them a call, let them know, and so that they can adjust accordingly. That's just being respectful to them. Number 4, drivers are responsible to understand and obey all traffic laws. If the driver violates any such laws, it's going to be the responsibility of the driver to accept all the penalties. All the traffic laws are important to our church, but some especially. One includes car seat laws. So if there is a kid who needs to be in a car seat, then that parent needs to send the kid with the car seat, who needs to come with the kid with the car seat or whatever. And so we're not taking any kids who needs to be in a car seat without the car seat or booster seat, whatever the state law requires. Additionally, passenger head count is important. You don't want to have any more people than there are seat belts. And so if, let's say we have a 15 passenger van and you've got 16 people who want to get in, well, that extra person is going to have to wait for you to go and come back. And that's another reason why it's important for you to plan your route ahead of time. You're going to want to have a route planned ahead of time so that you know how many people you're picking up at each spot. And that way, if there's more people than you can pick up in one trip, you have that plan. So you know that you're going to drop off and go pick up and what that should look like to be the most efficient. On a side note, to that end, as a part of your planning and making sure that you're going to be able to drop off all your passengers on time, you're going to want to plan your route the night before any transportation event so that you have that all figured out. You know exactly where you're going, how long it's going to take between, destination 1 and destination 2 to church, so that there's, nothing left to chance whenever you wake up in the morning. And furthermore, we want you to confirm every destination the day of picking people up. So, for example, let's say it's Sunday morning gathering, you're going to be picking people up. You got someone at destination A and someone at destination B. They need to call you, and you have that all figured out on Saturday before you go to bed. So that Saturday before you go to bed, you can be looking up to see where you're going to go first, where you're going to go second, so that you've got the most efficient route planned, and the people who are going to be your passengers can anticipate when you're going to arrive. So you can tell them, I'll pick you up around, let's say, 9 o'clock. And then you tell the next person, I'm going to pick you up, say, around 8:45. And then you have that all planned out, and everybody's on the same page. And then Sunday morning, you need to confirm with your passengers that they are still interested in coming. This is important because we've seen a lot of times, sometimes passengers will just forget, or they'll change their mind, or they'll sleep in, or whatever it is, and they don't let us know right away. They don't think about letting us know. And so it's important that you confirm that they're still interested in coming before you head out to that destination. And so tell them all that in your planning session the day before, in that conversation, that they need to be watching their phone for your confirmation and confirm with you that they're still coming, because if they miss that, they're going to miss their ride. Because we've seen a lot of times that some passengers are willing to let us come to pick them up and then not get on the van, so we've now wasted time and gas we just didn't need to. It's happened often enough that I promise you, obeying this portion of the policy is something you're going to appreciate. Like, if you don't do it, you're going to experience the problem of wasting the time, getting frustrated. And so I promise you, do this. Confirm before you leave out to any destination, and make sure they know that they need to confirm with you before you will be on your way, or they could miss out on that ride. So that takes a lot of communication, a lot of planning on your part, a lot of time, but it is important because it's going to save you a lot of time in the end. Policy number 5, drivers are responsible for notifying the church leadership of any maintenance issues that are discovered while driving. And so talk to your transportation ministry leader. If you're a driver, you have a transportation ministry leader. Talk to your transportation ministry leader about any maintenance issues. Maybe it's time for an oil change. Maybe it's time, maybe a light's out, or tires are bald, or something like that. Talk to your transportation ministry leader about maintenance issues. You're the boots on the ground. You're the one who's going to notice. People aren't checking on this. It's really up to the driver to be aware of these things and report them to your ministry leader. Drivers are also responsible for notifying the transportation ministry leader when the church van is at a quarter tank. And so we want to make sure that you've got gas in the van before you run out, of course. And so we need time to plan that. We aren't going to be able to just do it right away. Sometimes it's not as easy as here's a gas card. Sometimes it is. But we just need time to plan. So don't run on E and then say, I need gas now, it's an emergency. When you get to about a quarter tank, then let us know, or let your transportation ministry leader know, so that we can plan accordingly and get you gassed up without it being a big emergency. Number 7, drivers must not pick up any children who are ages 7 or under that don't have an adult guardian present for the church gathering. And so what I mean is that it's just not legal for us to babysit kids in our child care ministry unless they have a guardian present at the gathering. And so we've experienced sometimes parents will just want to send their kids to church so that they can get them out of the house, and they don't come themselves. They just want to get rid of their kids for the day and think of us as a free daycare. And hey, we're happy to take kids, people any age, whatever, but it is literally illegal for us to put those kids in our child care ministry if they are not accompanied by an adult guardian for the gathering. And so we'll take kids without parents, but if they're 7 or under, it's illegal for us to do that. So we can only take kids without guardians who are 8 or older. We are unable to supervise kids who are 7 or under unless they have a guardian present. So the guardian could be, a relative of any kind, aunt, uncle, cousin, sibling, as long as they're adult age. But we can't just pick up kids who are 7 or younger unless they're going to have a relative in the gathering. Lastly, number 8, our range of service availability is within 10 to 15 minutes one way from the church. And so we will probably get some requests to drive, all over the place to pick people up. We don't have what it takes to accept invitations to pick people up who live further than 15 minutes away one way from the church. Ideally, we'd be picking people up who are about 10 minutes from the church, 15 minutes at most, and that's one way, so you'd have, 15 minutes both ways, half-hour round trip at the worst case scenario. All right, thank you for enduring this training video. I know it wasn't a lot of fun, but I know it is also important for you to be able to experience success in your role as a transportation ministry team member. I thank you again for your service to your church family. This ministry is a big deal, And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope that it is a fruitful opportunity for you. Thanks. Have a nice day.